Welcome to the Technology Principle Podcast, where the world's top technology leaders share their pivotal moments and breakthrough ideas that shape their journey. This is where the future of technology gets personal. Today, we're joined by Jody Bhagat, President of North America at Engine by Starling, a seasoned leader with a remarkable track record of driving digital transformation across some of the world's well-known financial institutions. We'll explore Jody's journey to C-suite, the challenges of scaling technology in modern financial institutions, and where he sees innovation reshaping financial services in the years ahead. If you're a leader building their next chapter of digital transformation, make sure you tune in. First of all, thank you. Really excited to have you on this podcast. And I really want to take you on, or the listeners, on the journey of yourself into your leadership capacity. So maybe we'll start back at the beginning with you, your younger self. So not that long ago. And what did you want to be? What were your ambitions when you were growing up? In that sense.
I suppose, like most kids, I was completely into sports. I thought I'd end up having some kind of career in sports or gaming. And that would not have been a fleeting choice, because now, given the valuations of sports teams and gaming companies, probably would have been a good selection. Yeah.
It's what any sport in particular?
So I played American football and I played tennis.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there's just been just an explosion of, and I think it shows the appetite for people globally around being connected with live sports in
Yes.
some ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you think that those, when you were younger and you wanted to be in sports, in particular American football, leadership qualities then were actually paramount to your success now, d- if you follow?
Well, in some ways, I was fortunate enough to be actually on a way back when, on a championship high school football team, with a team that frankly had almost zero superstars, and it
Okay.
all came down to coaching and essentially being able to outsmart the other team when you lacked talent, size, scale, physical attributes. So that's something that has certainly stayed with me, which is how do you find the environment that allows you to excel, not just as an individual, but really as part of a team?
So it's quite a unique skill, isn't it? And it
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it's something that you don't get taught at a young age. It's possibly something that you organically grow within yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's certainly, we all, I think, um, rely on some of these experiences that shape us, and they some of them were generated from many years ago, but really valuable, particularly I think if they're, frankly, whether they're positive or negative, to the extent that they've shaped your character, the ability for you to be self-aware and to continue to improve yourself, I think is a real great quality.
So when you realize that maybe you weren't going to be a professional American football player or tennis player, when did you realize that maybe the world of fintech was where you wanted to go? How did you get into that sort of domain?
Yeah, well, I kind of evolved into fintech. Sometimes some of these decisions seem much more intelligent retroactively, but you don't always have that choice of a completely well coordinated and deciphered plan up front. But having said that, the the value that I gained from being an operator in a bank. So I was at U.S. Bank, I was at Citizens Bank. At Citizens Bank, I ran a team of about 1,000 people as part of the leading the digital and the call center teams. U.S. Bank, I helped to lead a transformation there, and then I had a couple of stints in consulting. I was a partner at McKinsey, which is really an amazing firm, and then had the opportunity to come into fintech. And what I found was that this triumvirate of skill sets is actually quite valuable. Um, Again, somewhat opportunistically, and in many ways, you need to be able to tell a story about yourself that makes sense, at least retrospectively, if you're not doing it proactively. So I found that the combination is quite valuable, particularly when you're trying to advance the cause in the banking industry.
And I guess that the banking industry, when you entered it, has completely changed from then to now in terms of the essentially the tech that you are essentially leading into the US at the moment.
Yeah, it's the industry's really in a pivotal place now, and we have a breakneck speed of change in terms
Yes.
of technology. In fact, in many ways, it's outpacing the ability for all industries, but I think specifically banks to embrace the technology. It's a real challenge. I think if you're a CIO or a chief digital officer at a bank, it's quite a challenge to understand where should I be investing given the pace of change.
It's interesting because you're now at Engine by Starling. You've been with them now for just over 6 months, I believe. And why did you, why them? Why Engine by Starling? What is it that they have that you think that you can bring to the US?
So I was most recently at another fintech where it was a very successful fintech. We achieved pretty significant penetration in the North American market, delivering personalized insights into the platform with many big name banks. And I thought achieved a strong amount of market penetration. It's a fairly niche type of solution, an important solution, but a niche solution. And I really wanted to take on something that was much more consequential, an order of magnitude greater in terms of its opportunity, its impact. Really, it's the capability to shape and move the industry, which I know is a big ambition, but that's really what I strive to do. I really want to improve the competitiveness of the North American banking industry, given such a pivotal time. So while that's a big ambition, sometimes you have to take on these big ambitions to be able to at least achieve a portion of it. And that's an Engine really provides that. Engine is a completely modern tech stack which has the capability to help at least forward thinking banks take a leap forward in terms of their competitiveness. And we believe the market is really moving in this direction.
You've seen, so obviously since you joined Starling, you've had a couple of really interesting wins, client wins, for example, customer wins, and you're really adding value to those banks, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, we're so pleased with our recent announcement last year with Tangerine Bank. Tangerine has over 2 million customers. It's a part of the Scotia Bank, which is a $1 trillion institution. And Tangerine has won the JD Power Award for mid-sized banks 14 years running. So they're a very prolific bank, really seeking to reignite growth and create a platform that'll allow the bank to really grow and achieve its ambitions and deliver a different kind of level of innovation for their customers, putting more control of their finances in the hands of their customers. So I'm so pleased because the leadership team and specifically the CEO Terry Lee Weeks have very high ambition, and we're fortunate that they've chosen us to be their partner in this. And in turn, we feel a real conviction and commitment to help them be successful in that endeavor.
It's really interesting that you go back to your American football days, and you were playing in a team with no superstars, but you were winning things, and you now fast forward to where you are today, Engine by Starlink, and actually you're a new player in the marketplace in the US. You're coming with the testimonials from the UK, but if you can relate those challenges back, you're going against it. You're going against the big guys. You're really taking a new team to market. What's the secret in that sense? What is the underlying quality that probably you possess as a leader or as a someone who can a thought leader that you can take to market?
Well, thank you for saying that. I believe that you really need to one really needs to approach challenges with humility,
Yes.
belief, but humility. And in fact, when I was announced as the leader in the for the president role for North America by Engine, Starling by Engine, several pundits said, well-known pundits said, "Why are you taking this opportunity? Don't you know that many other players have failed before you?" And and I recognize that, but I believe that ambitious challenges such as this, first of all, it's very personalized, personally energizing, and I am attracted to challenges that require some degree of, let's say, evangelism.
Mm,
And perhaps by definition, when you have to evangelize, it is naturally more challenging. The role that you're taking on is much more challenging because you're trying to create a movement, or you're trying to influence, or you're trying to attract people to a different way of thinking or a way of behaving. And I feel this, the journey is character building, but the success is much sweeter with a formidable challenge.
absolutely. So do you think, if you take your career a leader in tech overall, what has been the biggest challenge that you've encountered in that time?
I really think that this is the challenge that we have right now in front of us is
Yeah.
one of the greatest challenges. Frankly, I'd say there's a vexing challenge for the entire banking industry. If you think of all of the different factors that are at play, particularly for mid-tier banks and credit unions in the U.S. And globally as well, but I'll just speak to the U.S. more specifically, which is you've got as we said, this breakneck pace of technology change, which will have societal implications, but significant implications for the banking industry. Of course, you've got changing regulatory regime where you expect regulators are expecting to have much more granularity around operational resilience. You've got a much more competitive environment where you've got behemoth banks that are winning in the higher income sector, and then you've got neobanks as challengers. And then also in the US, we're in the midst of really an M&A wave, which is an
Mm,
existential threat to many banks. So it's a pivotal time. Decisions that banks make in the next few years will really define the outcomes for them over the years to come. And so we believe that the market is moving in this direction. The market is moving to a place where they're embracing modern capabilities as opposed to staying with the familiar legacy players, which are big behemoths, as you said, and are well funded, but they don't have modern platforms. And just because they're familiar doesn't make them sound or smart decisions for highly competitive and a highly dynamic kind of future.
and it's really interesting because the evolution of this world and you within this world as a leader, as someone within the fintech community, has been quite considerable. The tech is constantly changing, and you as a leader, have you had to adapt and evolve and change as quickly as the solutions that you guys are providing?
Absolutely. If you fashion yourself as a modern platform, and this is the target state that banks should try and achieve, you naturally need to be on top of and ahead of some of the capabilities that are rapidly evolving. Now, what I'm really proud to say is when you have a modern platform, one that has real-time architecture that's event-based, a full 360 view of customers, rich API orchestration, and that's cloud native and operationally resilient. When you have that capability, now you're in position
Mm,
to address the latest AI use cases, as an example. Because this world that we're moving to, whether it's generative AI solutions that are customer facing or agentic solutions which are intended to drive efficiency, the ability to leverage a modern platform so you can achieve these AI solutions at scale is vital. And so we want to be the platform and the capability. And I personally need to be the person that says, look, we understand what are the AI use cases that are evolving, but more importantly, as a bank, you need to have the platform that'll allow you to adapt and evolve with whatever the new AI use cases are. And most importantly, to be able to operate at scale and with impact. And that's where we see enabling banks to be more innovative, to have more flexibility in terms of driving product innovation and tailored journeys to customers, putting them in the market more quickly, being able to better understand customer behavior so you can serve customers more rapidly, having a platform, frankly, that their employees can be proud of, that they really feel like they're well set up to serve their customers as opposed to dealing with more antiquated technology.
And is there an appetite in the marketplace from your customers to evolve? Is there and change to engage with you guys to get the tech in to make their sort of customer journey and their solutions a lot more niche in that sense?
Yeah, we believe the market is heading in this direction.
Mm,
Um, it's for better or worse. Many banks are having to face the reality that their technology estate is holding them back, and
mm.
specifically their core technology. Banks can spend up to 80% of their IT spend just to maintain their
It's crazy.
core.
It's crazy.
And so you may only have 5 to 10% of your spend actually going towards new business value generating activities. Now, not every bank will take the same approach. Some will say, I am I will be all in on modernization, and I'll take out several systems, and because I've got to modernize several systems over the next few years anyway. Others will say, I'll keep my core as an enterprise ledger, but I'll do what's called hollowing out the core. I'll continue to pull out capabilities from that, and I'll put in modern tech around it. And others will say, I have a great model right now. I operate in 3 states, but the way I'm going to grow is not by taking this existing model and just replicating it in the next state. I will have a digital led, footprint light growth
Okay.
model. So those are 3 different kinds of options that banks have in terms of how to modernize and to do it really effectively. But we believe that the need for and the abilities created from a uh, from a modern technology is what will allow banks to compete. And we think that more and more banks are certainly seeing that, and they're feeling like they're being that the legacy providers in some ways are stifling innovation, making it harder to connect with third parties, making it harder to have the kind of resilience or the kind of rich API connectivity they want to have. So the risk in a strange way, the risk of doing little and staying where you are is now starting to rise, and that makes it more inviting to say, let's do more than just upgrade our core. Let's undertake a broader modernization, which is not an IT led exercise, it's actually a management team led exercise. But then the CEO can say to the management team, all of you have a stake in this. All of you need to improve your functional outcomes by taking advantage of the platform's capabilities.
And do you think COVID was the catalyst for this, or do you think this was going to happen if COVID hadn't happened in that sense? Because I knew there was during COVID, the banks were crying out to be closer to their customers, and the evolution took place quite aggressively after COVID. Do you think that was the catalyst?
That was certainly a catalyst, certainly of the
Mm,
digital boom that we
yeah.
see in terms of the digital capabilities. And not just, before that, there was some work around the front end experience. I think COVID really invited banks to develop more of the straight through capabilities in terms of providing more functionality, not
Yes.
just user experience enhancements, but full functionality in particularly in the mobile platform. Now we're in a different wave altogether, which is how can you embrace some of the the new AI capabilities and solutions. And it promises to have a very profound impact in terms of the bank's cost structure
Yeah.
and also applying it to customer facing solutions as well, which does come with some, this is where the opportunity is. While that is a very enticing opportunity to put generative AI solutions in the hands of your customers, it also becomes important from a risk and compliance and control standpoint to have the right degree of controls around it. And so again, that's what you can enable through a really forward-leading platform. You can enable that to happen. And I'm proud to say Starling is one of the leaders. Starling Bank is one of the leaders in applying AI solutions. In fact, it was one of the first to put generative AI solutions in the hands of customers. And
Wow.
so the bank is also leading the way. And what's particularly, I think, interesting for me personally is, we're an operating bank plus a tech platform, and that's also how I consider myself as a bank plus tech person.
And that's quite unusual, isn't it? Unusual to have a bank plus tech and to find someone who views themselves the same as you just mentioned. You're a banker, but also you're a tech advocate as well. Um, so that's quite an unusual, but also I guess that's probably why this was fated that you guys would align and then take them into the US.
It really cemented certainly the fit for me,
Yeah,
because just culturally, that was an important fit, and of course the team's been great, been very supportive, and it brings a certain amount of credibility when you're engaging bank clients. Let's say you're one of the big legacy behemoth players. I can tell you, okay, I've got 3 references that you can go visit, and they'll probably provide good references. But our approach feels very different. When we're engaged with prospects, we'll bring them to the UK. They'll meet with the head of call center, the head of the deposits business, the head of payments, the head of marketing, one-to-one executive engagement with actual operators that are leveraging the technology. And then they discuss with their common interests and their aligned backgrounds, how can you achieve the kinds of functional outcomes that you desire, whether that's improving your first contact resolution or having a lower opex per customer or being able to get new products out into the market in 2 sprint cycles. How can you actually execute on that as a functional leader,
okay,
leveraging the platform? And that's really it's a profound difference because when you're executive at a bank and you're tasked with saying, okay, you're going to leverage this technology and capability and you have to achieve dramatic gains. You want to have that kind of partnership and feel like
absolutely,
you have a coach along the way.
absolutely. I want to pick up something that you mentioned earlier. Obviously, as a youngster, you wanted to be a sports person. Then you went on to manage many people, up to 1,000 people, and now you're moving into essentially bringing a company into the US and really going against the bigger players. Sounds stressful, sounds intense, sounds those scenarios are probably in one respect could be quite overwhelming. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with stress? How do you walk away from speaking to a CIO that's not the call's not gone very well, or you're, leading a business in the US? It'd be really interesting to hear how you deal with that.
Yeah, we all have to have our personal outlets. I love a number of things. I say I'm very fond of the book club that I'm in. I enjoy
Okay.
yeah, I enjoy poker. I enjoy golf. I enjoy fitness. And so I actually thought, I said, what are what's the common themes around this? And frankly, they all kind of center in some ways around self-development in some ways. And I
Mm,
think that's you know, um, I try to make myself kind of incrementally better in any of the facets that I'm working on. And so like for instance, I think poker is actually a fascinating teacher. Um, and I share this with my kids as well, which is this combination of how do you make decisions by
Yes,
bringing together this combination of probability, of logic, and psychology. And those three elements are actually vital in any kind of decision making, particularly when you're engaging with people. You know, in
absolutely.
poker, you're trying to win, but in other cases, you may be trying to influence or partner or collaborate or um, you know, or move in a particular direction. So, and then the book club has just been fascinating as well. It's now are about a quarter of those books are around self development. So sometimes I'm like, enough development already. But we're also trying to stay up to speed in terms of AI developments, which are just absolutely fascinating and something that you don't hear on the news, but it's moving so quickly that of course I encourage everybody to try and dig under the surface and see what's happening in terms of not just uh, not just self-driving cars, but how healthcare is going to change significantly, and life longevity and
Absolutely.
disease control and things like that. It's very exciting.
The future for you, what does it look like? Let's say, it's a cliche question, 3 or 5 years down the road. Where do you see yourself going with Starling by engine? And what do you see it looking like?
Well, it's as we talked about this inflection point for the industry, my hope is that we are really able to capitalize on this, frankly, and improve the competitiveness of the banking industry. Not that we will have all banks as our clients, but when you're able to establish some real credibility and being able to partner with leading banks to show a different way of being able to perform, and that includes in terms of operating efficiency, in terms of a growth agenda, the kind of customer experience improvements and product differentiation you can deliver, and an improved, more adaptive set of risk controls. When we're able to do that, I think that it'll change the complexion for how banks will really operate and compete, particularly against other entrants, which are threatening profit pools for the banks. So it's a vital time. I feel like we have I feel like we almost have an obligation to to win customers in the U.S. First of all, to make Tangerine very successful in Canada, but to win customers in the U.S. and demonstrate what's possible, and demonstrate, frankly, a much uh, how a bank can become much healthier and embrace a future of rapidly evolving technology, and do it all in a way that unlocks not just their financial performance, but unlocks the creativity and potential of their people. And we
Yeah,
believe the technology estate is holding banks back from doing that.
it's fascinating. It really is fascinating. And, I know with you at the helm, it sounds like they will achieve those objectives. And your experience that you bring to the table and your knowledge is second to none. But I just want to ask you one more question. We started with you growing up. If you can go back in time now and everything you learned over the past period of time through leadership, through tech, what would be a piece of advice that you would pass to your younger self now, that that younger you would benefit from if they heard it?
Well, it's a great question. It's so important to be able to reflect and being able to bring this back and anchor it in your own experiences. And I would say that competency and expertise are clearly important ingredients for success. But if you want to find the best version of yourself, you need to find an environment that gives you both motivation and belief.
Yes.
And the motivation, that's derived from the alignment of the company's pursuits and your personal goals. And the belief in your ability to deliver impact, that really amplifies your ability to succeed. So that's what I would share with my younger self and also others.
Jody, thank you very much for your time today. That's a great point to leave it on. Um, Thank you. Good luck with everything. You don't need good luck because you'll be successful. And I'm
Thank you
looking
so
forward
much.
to watching your progression over there over the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.